Part 2 of Under Her Roof. 3 years had passed since the night Peace left the Lekki duplex with one small bag. Her dignity in ruins and her heart pounding with shame. Life had not offered her ease since then. But it had offered her quiet, and in that silence, she slowly built herself again. Now she worked in a modest bakery in Suralaya. It wasn't glamorous, but it was hers. Every morning she rose before dawn, tied her apron, and arranged fan loaves and coconut buns in neat rows. The smell of butter and yeast had become her comfort. She no longer thought about him, or at least she told herself that. Until the day he walked into her shop. She was refilling the meat pie warmer when she looked up and saw him. Tega, standing at the glass counter, looking almost unchanged. He was still tall, bearded, neatly dressed, his face calm as always. But his eyes, they were softer now, heavier, like life had worn him down a little. 2 meat pies. Extra warm, he said, like it was any other day. Peace's hands froze mid-motion. She stared at him, her breath caught somewhere between fear and disbelief. For a moment, he didn't recognize her, not fully. But then their eyes locked and she saw it click. "Peace?" he asked. She nodded slowly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Good evening, sir." An awkward silence followed. The air between them filled with everything unsaid. Tega gave her a sad smile. "You're here now?" "I'm okay," she said softly. "You look well," he replied, as if it mattered. As if he had the right to say that. He paid for the pies and left. But Peace stood behind the counter for a long time afterward. Her heart fluttering. Not from love but from the old shame she thought she'd buried. That night, he returned. He stood outside the bakery after closing hours, leaning against a pole as the evening breeze danced through the street. "I just wanted to talk," he said when she walked past him. She hesitated, then nodded. They walked in silence down the street. Peace's steps were slow, cautious. Tega kept his hands in his pockets, his voice low. "I lost everything," he said after a long pause. "My home. My family. My peace. You know that." Peace stopped walking. "So did I," she replied. He looked at her, but she didn't meet his eyes. "Why didn't you try to reach out?" he asked. She turned slowly. "Because you wouldn't have fought for me. You were always going to protect yourself. You had power. I had nothing. You picked silence." He looked away, ashamed. They sat on a wooden bench beside a locked kiosk where no one could see them. For a moment, there was only the sound of traffic in the distance and the humming buzz of a faulty street lamp. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Peace looked ahead. She didn't cry out of sadness or longing, she cried to let go. The tears rolled down her cheeks, silent, steady, cleansing. Not for him. Not for the past. Just for everything she'd held in all these years. She stood up when she was done. "Don't come back here again," she said quietly. "Not because I hate you, but because I finally forgave myself." Then she walked away, and this time, he didn't follow. Across the city, Damilola was finding her way back to herself. The betrayal had nearly crushed her, but she refused to stay buried. She sold the house in Lekki. Too many memories soaked into the walls and moved to a smaller place in Ikeja GIA with her 2 children. People whispered. Friends grew distant. Clients sometimes avoided eye contact. But Dami kept moving. She poured her pain into fabric. Her fashion brand exploded. One of her gowns was worn by a Nollywood actress at an international film premiere. Another appeared in an editorial in Vogue Africa. Her Instagram following tripled. The outside world thought she was thriving. But the real transformation was happening in her heart. Then she met Ndola. He wasn't what she expected. No flashy car, no bravado, no games. Ndola was a poet. A widower. He smelled like sandalwood and books. And he asked questions like, "What makes you feel at peace?" And waited for real answers. He never pried. Never mentioned her past. They started as friends, slowly, with long conversations and quiet dinners. One night, she told him everything. About peace. About Tega. About how everything fell apart under her own roof. Ndola didn't flinch. He took her hand and said, "You don't owe anyone an apology for someone else's betrayal." That was the first time she allowed herself to fall not into love, but into softness. When Ndola proposed, it was under a mango tree, with her 2 children sitting beside them, laughing at the goats wandering past. He didn't give a big speech. He simply said, "Let me show you that love doesn't have to break first to be real." The wedding was small, beautiful, and nothing like the one she had the first time. She wore a red gown, bold, unapologetic. Her children walked her down the aisle. There was no DJ, just a saxophonist playing a soft Yoruba love song. Her friends cried. Not because they were sad, but because they had never seen Damilola so alive. Peace never showed up. But she was there in a way. Months later, Dami's intern from fashion school mentioned a girl named Peace who had started a fashion line in Yaba, called Second Skin. "She's really good, Ma," the intern had said. "She says she's making clothes for girls. Like her, girls who made mistakes and still deserve to feel beautiful." Damilola had smiled quietly. She said nothing. But that night, she wrote a check, a silent investment, and mailed it to the business address with no name attached. In another part of Lagos, Peace opened the envelope and stared at the check. She knew who it was from. No one else could have sent it. She pressed the paper to her chest and whispered to herself, "Thank you." Neither of them ever called. They didn't need to. Some things were already understood. It was at a women's fashion panel in Victoria Island that their paths crossed again. Peace wasn't supposed to be there, not really. She had been invited last minute by her friend Amaka, who told her, "It's free. Come and network small. Just show face." She wore her signature two-tone jacket, handmade with patchwork and pride. Her brand, Second Skin, had finally found voice. 3 interns. A shared studio. 30 orders a month. It wasn't booming, but it was breathing. The room smelled of perfume, ambition, and air conditioning. Influencers. Journalists. Designers. Peace kept her head down, taking notes as each panelist spoke about fashion trends and creative identity. And then she heard the host say, "Now, please welcome our final speaker, founder of Damilux, a pioneer of ethical fashion in Nigeria, a mother, a survivor, and a woman who has redefined what it means to rise after being broken, Damilola Ajayi Ndola." Peace's stomach twisted. The applause rose, and Damilola walked in, glowing in a caramel-colored dress. Her smile soft but firm, like she knew the strength of every stitch she wore. Her hair was in soft curls. Her voice was calm, measured. She spoke about building again after loss, about redefining success, about making mistakes that weren't your fault. Peace stared. Dami didn't see her, not yet. But Peace could feel her past crawling up her spine. After the panel, Peace didn't plan to say anything. She packed her notes quickly, ready to leave. But fate had other plans. The hallway was narrow. The foot traffic was thick. And suddenly, they were face to face. Dami. Peace. Silence. No crowd now. No applause. Just 2 women. One moment. Peace swallowed hard. Her mouth was dry. "I didn't know you'd be here," she said, voice barely audible. Dami looked at her long and hard, her expression unreadable. Then, finally, "Neither did I." Peace hesitated. "I'm not here to cause anything. I know," Dami interrupted. Her voice wasn't angry. It wasn't warm either. Just real. Peace looked down. "I started a line," she said, nervously. "Second Skin. For girls like me. I'm trying." "I know," Dami said again. Peace blinked. "You do?" Dami took a breath. Then she nodded, slowly. I sent the check. Peace froze. She had always guessed. But hearing it. Why, she asked. After what I... You didn't break me, Dami said calmly. He did. Peace's eyes welled up. I was young, she whispered. I was stupid. I thought. I don't even know what I thought. Dami smiled sadly. I know exactly what you thought. I've been that girl too, just in a different way. They stood there for a moment, neither moving. Peace finally said, Do you hate me? Dami looked at her long and deep. I don't feel anything anymore. And I think that's a kind of peace. She stepped forward and pulled something from her bag, a business card. If you ever need fabric suppliers, call that number, she said. Peace took it slowly. You'd help me? No, Dami said, smiling faintly. I'd help the woman you're trying to become. A pause. Then she turned to go. Peace stared after her, stunned. You're really something, Auntie Dami. Dami stopped, turned, and said with a small smile. Under my roof, you lied. Outside it. You're trying to live. I can't hold you to the past forever. And just like that, she was gone. Peace stood still, holding the card, her throat tight, her eyes hot. She had expected a slap. A curse. A scene. Instead, she got what she never thought she'd earn, grace. Well, it doesn't end here. Taiga is back and Peace is falling. The light burns again. Like and subscribe for part 3.